So this is the third part in this 3-part series about consumer finance protection and what I'm seeing in the regulatory environment these days. In the first part, we talked about what is consumer finance protection. In the second part, I talked about some specific examples that I'm seeing in the world these days or here in our nation. This third part is about, okay, now what are you going to do to protect yourself? So where is all of this heading? The Consumer Finance Protection Board that was put into place by Congress has now basically said we're going to have to back off on a lot of the regulations that we've been enforcing, less prosecution of bad actors. We're just not going to be able to keep an eye out for consumers the way that we have in the past. Things like keeping track of student loans, what happens with medical debt, what fees get charged on transactions, what penalties get charged on transactions, what interest rate gets charged on transactions, how a product discloses in their paperwork and how clear their communication is exactly about what they're giving to a consumer. Like all of that's going to have to go away. And some states are picking up the slack. I know that New York has made some efforts in that way. California has generally always been a little bit more strict than the federal. States are trying to fill the gap, but as they get less federal funding for other things that the state supports and money's going to have to go to those things, I suspect in this environment that the states are probably going to have to back off on their regulations as well. So what can you do? So I think there's some things that are really obvious at the beginning. Like if you're used to transacting business on Venmo and Cash App and PayPal and any other new ones that might come along, you just want to really be paying attention to your fees if you're paying any, penalties if you're paying any, interest rates if you're paying any. Like I would steer very clear of any of those kinds of products. I would stay strictly with, okay, I'm going to make this payment because this is an easy way for me to get money from me to you, the seller, or from you, the buyer, to me, the seller, and just leave it at that. I would just be very careful about getting other products from these companies because I'm not convinced that it's going to be a great way to do business. You're going to really have to pay attention to the fine print. When it comes to picking out somebody like me, somebody who's in financial services, who's providing a service, helping you guide your life through your financial well-being, you need to make sure that you're working with a fiduciary. I want you to make sure that you're working with somebody who is really looking at all aspects of your life and not just trying to sell you a product that's going to get easier and easier again, right? Let me just sell you this annuity. Let me just sell you this life insurance product. Those kinds of things are going to get a lot easier to sell. That's what's going to happen. And so just making sure that whoever you're working with is looking at a much larger picture and can give you some understanding about how this particular product is going to fill in the gaps of your financial picture, that's going to become more and more important. Again, back to basics, I want you to make sure that you understand very clearly how somebody is getting compensated. If they are getting a commission, that is not the end of the world. That might be actually a very efficient and economic way for you to get a particular product and get something handled in your life. But you want to understand how much that is and what you're getting paid for, what the surrender fees might be, like what are the consequences. There is no free lunch. I want you to make sure that you understand how is this person getting compensated and what does that mean for me and my family and my well-being. That's going to be super important again. And then this last piece, like I was saying, it's just going to be really important that you read the fine print. Do you understand where fees are coming from, how they're going to get charged, how you're going to pay them, how those fees might go up in the future, what things you need to be paying attention to in terms of deadlines or payoff periods or whatever it might be. Like all of those things are going to become really, really important again. And let me just say this is not a share and scare, and this is not about being skeptical. This is really about looking after your financial well-being. And as the world moves and shifts, we have to move and shift. And so right now, the move and the shift is away from regulation and protection. And that means that our shift as consumers needs to be way more attentive to what are we buying, who are we working with, and how do we make sure that we're looking after our best interests as we're transacting business, whether it's in the financial world or just day to day. And here's the last thing I want to say is that consumer protection should not be a luxury. Like this is what should be happening in the world all the time. It is the foundation of trust. It is the foundation of commerce. And that's exactly what's shifting here. So we're going to shift along with it. If you have any questions about this or concerns about what's happening either in your life or in the life of your loved ones, I'd be happy to have a conversation. I'm Jessica Lanning. Lanning Does Planning.